My name is Emily. Welcome to my garden. It's the place where dreams are cultivated. I have a great show planned for you today. You know, flower shows pop up from February to June all across America. Join me now at the Providence Spring and Flower Garden Show in its 19th year of existence. This year's theme, Simple Pleasures. Welcome to my garden. It's the place where dreams are cultivated. I have a great show planned for you today. We're featuring my backyard set with Jay's Garden Art. Jay's Garden Art.
Some of it's painted.
Some of it's not.
Put it in the garden.
Let it rot.
Jay's Garden Art.
The first flower show was offered in 1829 in Pennsylvania. This special event distracts thousands of visitors away from the winter humdrum with the promise of another awakening spring. Today, the Philadelphia Flower Show is the largest indoor flower show. Landscape designers and florists turned 10 acres of the Pennsylvania Convention Center into a floral fantasy. The Rhode Island Spring Flower and Garden Show is no exception to the rule. Here is the entrance garden, a woodland retreat.
First flower show together here.
Sylvan Nursery
A
at Farmers Village.
5,000 square foot exhibit, which is this times 3. For our first show. Emily is my mentor. She taught me a lot about design. She took me under her wing when she didn't have to.
Shelley Souza and I worked the very first Providence Flower Show. Here we are, together again, 19 years later. I think you've grown a little bit. This is unbelievable. This absolutely is my favorite exhibit. And all of these people are my friends. All of them are very talented. She's a great designer too. A very crucial part of the team too, I have to say.
Oh yeah.
Not only does she do all of this work, but she makes sure that we are kept fed, make sure that we have enough. We need to have nutrients, we need to have water.
And libation.
Yes. Steve Tapazio of Santasia puts on a great show every year with his sand sculptures. It's called the Performing Arts, and what they do is exactly that. During a flower show or another event, they set up structures and they bring the sand in. They can't actually start doing any work until the trucks stop coming in, because the vibrations, of course, would make the sand sculptures fall. So they work on it, they perform throughout the whole event until it's done. And as they go along, they use a mixture of water and glue that actually holds it together. And I've been told that some of these can last as long as 7 years. Flower Show's theme this year, of course, is Simple Pleasures, so Steve has chosen to do all of the things that are simply pleasurable in Rhode Island.
This is my sculpture. This is Santasia. We are Santasia from Tiverton, Rhode Island, and this is all about the simple pleasures of Rhode Island. I have the zoo.
You got them all.
Sports teams. I have food in front. I have hot readers, which we're all used to. This is a replication of the water fire. Out front there is a typical Rhode Island beach scene with a kid making a sandcastle in a lighthouse.
You know, flower shows sometimes include music and dancing as added attractions. Watch this.
We're going to be doing some shoe flower dances from Germany and Austria. What you would see over in Europe is a community gathering space. My mom's German, my dad's family's Dutch and Irish. When I was 8, my parents joined a Schuhplattler group in Philadelphia, traditional Bavarian Austrian folk dancing that goes back well over 1,000 years, and where the men wear the lederhosen and the women wear the dirndls. And the original dances, it's all word of mouth, but they say it was created by the woodsmen up in the Alps. They would cut the trees in the winter, float them down through the rivers in the spring, and they created the dance around the mating dance of the Auerhahn bird, which is sort of like the ruffled grouse here in the States. And I can just picture a bunch of bored lumberjacks like around the fire, kicking their legs. We're going to be performing a few folk dances for you from the beer garden of the Bavarian and Austrian region. We're going to begin with a dance called the Dirndl mit den roten Meter. That is the earliest dance that has been written down and recorded. The Plattlers went way before that. Somebody actually wrote that one down. And in English it would mean the girl with a red bodice.
It's up the escalator now to the show office, where we can view the entire flower show. The view is absolutely magnificent of all the gardens. And there's a bonus today. Roger Swain of the Victory Garden has come to make a visit.
Hello and welcome to the Rhode Island Flower Show. I hosted the Victory Garden show. It was a good run. It was Crockett's Victory Garden originally, and then Jim died and Bob Thompson took over. Then Bob began to get a little tired, and they hired me because I was way younger than the other. But the three of us are collectively known as the Garden Gnomes. Jim and Bob and Roger. Jim's gone and Bob's gone and I'm still here.
Visitors can meet and mingle with designers on the show floor, offering the stuff that dreams are made of.
That was a really good show.
So you won second place.
Yeah, won second place for the best vignette.
I had the privilege of hosting a workshop at the Attleboro Flower Show this year, thinking quite literally out of the bag, inspired by the pocket pouch, better known as the Al's bag. Join me now at the Attleboro Arts Museum for their 16th annual flower show. This year's theme, Garden America, Freedom of Expression. The idea here was to encourage landscapers and florists to use iconic American artwork as inspiration for their garden creations. This community-based flower show featured the Star-Spangled Diner. After-hours events included a salute to swing music and dance, as well as live music and dancing in the gallery with the Dixie Die Hard. I'll introduce myself to those of you that don't know me. My name is Emily Johnson. I have a television series called Emily's Garden that is actually on our local AACS channel here in Attleboro, but it's also in about 25, I think 30 communities now. And I just got picked up in some states that were further, so just so that you know, you're all going to be on my show as well, because we filmed the Providence Flower Show that I just finished. and I'm going to tack this little demonstration on the end of it. That being said and done, I wanted to thank Attleboro Farms because they actually donated most of this material. So when you do a demonstration like this, it's all well and good, but you still have to come up with the demonstration material. Thank you very much, Attleboro Farms. Drum roll, please. What I'm going to do is choose 3 people to come up. I have 3 pieces here. The good news is you get some plants to take home today at the flower show in Attleboro. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Attleboro Flower Show before we actually began. Sarah, I know you've been involved with this since day one. When this first started, I don't know if you did any of the math lately, but the Providence Flower Show is going into its 20th year next year. And I was at Silva Nursery at Farmers Village at the time when we did the first Providence Flower Show 19 years ago, and was approached by the Attleboro Flower Show team right after that. Unbelievable. So welcome to the Attleboro Arts Museum Flower Show. The theme of the flower show is Garden America, Freedom of Expression. So what I've done here is I've taken a practical look at something that was done quite a few years ago. Does anybody know what this is? Planter. It is a planter. It's a plastic planter. You see these. It must have been invented by a man named Al, because I'm not kidding about this. They're called Al's bags, which I love. So what I decided to do is a little take on these. So my take on this, on the Al's bag, is to do something called a pocketbook planter. Not a pocket pouch, but a pocketbook planter. And I'm going to show you the correct way of planting an Al's bag and a strawberry jar, which is much different than this. There's nothing in this one yet. You don't fill them all the way up to the top and then stuff them in like we're going to do here. And obviously we're going to do that here because it's already a bag. We have an open pouch here. When you plant your strawberry jars, what you're going to actually do is put your soil in, go up to the first pocket, unlike the pocketbook planter, and then you'll take your plant and insert it like so. You'll do all 3 around. Then you'll go to the next layer with the soil until you reach the next 3 pockets. Plant them as such. 1 more layer, and then you're going to put your last 3 plants on top. And that is how you plant a strawberry jar, as well as these pocket planters or the Al's bag. You all know that you can pot into a bag of potting soil, and you just form a pocketbook. Most of you are gardeners, so you know that when you do plant your garden, you do something called staggered planting. Staggered planting is basically you do a 1, 2, 3, and then 2 in the spaces. And the reason for that is because the plants are going to grow in together. So this pocketbook planter is going to be totally covered when it's done. Not today, but after it grows. The plant that Attleboro Farms donated for this project are super petunias. Now you all know how prolific these are. Does anybody know what these little things are called? Not the plant itself, but what it's in. They are seed starters, but they're called plugs. See the size of these? This was something else that I came up with a couple of years ago. I was at Morin's having coffee. The creamers. Well, looky, looky. You're not going to throw these away because really and truly, I'm not going to force that in there, but you can see how you can start your seeds. A lot of people have these little coffee makers now. Maybe you want to go a size up. It even has a little hole in it ready for you. And I love this. Came home from work, wanted to cook chicken. I now have a little solarium for my plugs until they get going. Any kind of plastic pieces like this, you can start your plants in these little creamers and get ready for planting. And the reason I bring this up is because if we're going to be cutting holes in these bags, we don't want to be cutting huge holes in these bags. So the smaller the better. So basically, I'm going to have her reverse and do the 2 on this side and 1 here. 3 is way enough for this little 4-pound bag of soil. And it will cover the whole thing. So I'm going to turn it around. You're going to do your stagger. And what I want to do is actually start with the bottom. You're going to just make your slit very simply like that. So now you have your cross. Okay. Very much like how the bag is made. It's all it is. Okay. And then you're going to take your plant and pop it in. Now for this, you can just let it lie because you can reshape it. Push it in there, just like so. And when you do reshape it, it's actually going to form around it. You see what I did from the bottom up? What could be simpler than that, seriously? And again, as you go, you're going to work this, and then you're going to make this go back this way. And we're going to put a little strap on it so it does look like a pocketbook. I think one that I did, I actually put buttons on it. It's all kinds of stuff that you could play with. So I'm going to have you all get busy with that. You can pass that around. I also have these little knives that I've set on the table, which might even help you. Yep, now go up a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Yep, because this is where it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to go right about there.
Okay.
Now you're going to be using pansies. And this was another take. How you doing, ladies?
Good.
Okay. I thought, how cute is that for a baby shower with little white pansies in it or a little bacopa? And all I did was fill little baggies up with soil about 2/3 of the way, and again form your little pouch. Creepin' Jenny I pulled outside this morning. That'd be fine for this. And it's abundant, right? You got that everywhere. You're going to obviously have a watering can that has a thinner spout, and I would do this in the sink. You're all going to be able to put this on a tray, by the way. Whenever I water anything that is this fragile, I'll put the water in the watering can, but I hold the spout. Then I allow my finger to just drip it in. So you can actually get right in there. If you don't care about making a bit of a mess, and that's what I would normally do, is take the whole thing, put it in the tray, put it in the sink, and just water the soil. And if you don't have that, you can just take your little spray bottle, go right inside. The water's going to spread out. I tell everybody the same thing. There is no water every 2 or 3 days in my book. You really have to check the plant. They're all individual. They're all variables. You don't know if they're in the sun when somebody comes in to say this to you. You don't know if the roots have just popped out of the plant itself. And of course it's thirsty because it hasn't got any soil around it that's holding that. So it's all a variable. Usually you just insert your finger right down to the knuckle. You can tell if the top surface is dry. That doesn't mean that it needs water. It's what's underneath that makes all of the difference. So something like this might be a little bit harder because you can't do that. But you can tell pretty much by looking at the plant itself. And again, gardening, like most of life, is common sense. Okay, how you doing?
Good.
Okay.
I'm good.
You good?
Yep.
See, I told you, they're all gardeners. Okay, so this is supposed to keep you busy a little bit. Seeds. When you deadhead your plants in the fall or throughout the summer months, you take your seeds and you put them in a paper bag upside down and just label it. You can see there's nothing on here because my seeds are all in the bottom of the bag now. Which one is this? Shasta Daisy Maxima, I think. Did you do that? Yeah. Baptisia. I love Baptisia. You're already ahead of yourself. That's great. These have little pods. There they are. Now these are perennials, and just like everything else, they're all individuals. Some things require different care as far as planting. They may have to be planted in the fall and go through a stratification period, which is basically a 5-week cold period, which brings us to the weather. A lot of our things will be affected this year. We didn't have the cold. The cold is actually good for the plants. So you'll see some things, like every year, you'll see some things look or did better than others. I'm not paying attention to my class. Okay, let's see. They look great. You can use any kind of ribbon. I actually love that colorful ribbon over there, and I was going to use that as the handle. But I discovered when I go to tie it, it rips. So we can't use that. I do have this that's used to make a living wreath. You wrap around the sphagnum moss. And it actually is very apropos because it does match our bags very nicely. So I'm just going to give you all a piece of this. Slip it under. You're just going to tie it. I think when I did this on my television series, I just used a shower curtain or a trash bag. Same thing. Now, what would be the use for something like this? It's really just a cute little creative piece that might be nice for May Day or Easter. Have a nice little Easter bonnet right next to it, planted up with pansies, near a rocking chair on your porch as people come in. The other thing I did not too long ago is I planted wheatgrass for Easter for the kids. Grab some cookie cutters, cut up some fruit into slices about yay thick, cut them. I used a strawberry. Those cocktail toothpicks that have the colorful edges, and inserted grapes to make a daisy. Put it on skewers inside the basket of wheatgrass. Is a very healthy Easter basket for your children, or in my case, grandchildren. How cute is that? I was going to share one more thing with you before we close. I raise butterflies in the summertime too. It's another thing that I just enjoy doing. Milkweed, Sclebia. Look how beautiful this is. I had a lady in Attleboro. I used to call her Grandma Kerfoot. I met her when I was at Farmers Village years ago. Excuse me. Oh. Outtake. I actually had to go up to the 3rd floor with like a 25-pound bag of manure. She must have been about 85, 86-year-old woman sitting on the floor in her living room potting up plants. And we became great friends, and she was a wealth of information. Sometimes you just learn so much from people if you just listen. She had a coffee table, and on that coffee table she had pressed flowers. It was just beautiful. It was like a mahogany piece, very low. She actually painted vases with the flowers coming out, the pressed flowers. And what she did was she took milkweed, take the seeds out, and you just lay down the milkweed itself, and you spread it out. And I'm only going to do a portion because you can see it's flying away on me in here. And I'm going to show you what looks like silk paper.
Oh my goodness.
How beautiful is that? And the thicker you put it on, you take out that little polyp. Look at that.
Lovely.
And I'm going to pass it around so you can see, because it is something that you have to see close.
Wow.
And it was just gorgeous.
Wow, look at that. Beautiful.
That's something that you can do with children. It certainly doesn't cost anything. And the things that you could do, just have you pass that back. The things that you could do with that are, think about it, a painting. I brought this picture because I just like the Victorian flair, and I thought that would be lovely. Okay, let's see what we have over here now. Perfect, perfect, and perfect. You need help with getting this in. You got it. It's just when you're manipulating it to actually plant the flowers, it does shift. And once the roots start to take hold, you're not going to have that problem. And it is a good idea to just keep it in here until that does happen. Thank you for coming to my little workshop. Enjoy the flower show. I hope you left with a few ideas. We part until we meet again. See you next time back in Emily's garden. My name is Emily. Welcome to my garden. It's a place where dreams are cultivated. Join me at the little bit. Almost had it. Flower shows pop up all across America from June. We're in June, see? It took me all this time to make one video. I got it. Flower shows pop up from February to June all across America.